Hello, beloved survivors. This is Autumn. A couple of months ago, I had a truly wonderful conversation on a very special podcast called Becoming the Vision. It's a show where hosts Dr. Shara Reed and Dr. Trinell Torian invite visionaries, both from the field of philanthropy and beyond, who believe and practice the idea that we must change ourselves in order to change the world, into deep conversation. So it was a thrill to get invited on their show to discuss my own creative origin story. And we also talked a lot about my new book, which you can pre-order now. It's called Temper: Practicing Freedom in an Unfree World. There's a pre-order link in the show notes. I'm excited to share a lot more about the book with all of you in the coming months. But for now, I just want to share this conversation. So here's Shara, Trinell, and I getting right into it. I believe that fugitive practice is, at its heart, a deep practice of self-study. And as I was doing the self-study and peeling back more and more layers of my own life story, I realized that I had been in some form of fugitive practice my entire life.
Hey guys, it's Trinell.
Hey y'all, it's Shara, and this is Becoming the Vision. This is a show about practicing the future we deserve and is the official podcast of Freedom Dreams and Philanthropy. In this podcast, we feature visionaries who embrace the tradition of freedom dreaming in service to racial justice and collective liberation. This season, our focus is dreaming forward, and we are thrilled to welcome Autumn Brown, mother, movement leader, and musician. Welcome, Autumn.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here with the both of you.
Well, we are really delighted that you accepted our invitation to be here. And just to say a word about why we invited you onto this show.
Yeah, tell me why I'm here.
Fangirl? Do people still say that? I'm a huge fan.
They do. I think that
okay.
I think we can say that we do.
We're people, and we're saying it. And so people say it, right? Huge fan of How to Survive the End of the World, which I came to like in the pandemic when I was walking my toddler around my neighborhood in a stroller, while sometimes listening to Zoom calls because I was only on audio because it was the pandemic and everything was closed. And I had a toddler and a 5-year-old. And I was like, this is what I need. Right. So I'm on the Zoom call and I'm like, wait, I'm going to stay out here and I'm going to listen to something. What is it? I'm listening to How to Survive the End of the World.
Wow.
And my favorite episodes are the conversations you and your sister Adrienne had with siblings.
Aww.
I loved that series.
Wow.
And my very favorite episode, well, one is all conversations with Makani Temba, but your conversation with Makani and Robin D.G. Kelley is my absolute favorite.
That's one of my favorites too.
Oh, yeah. Yes. It's so good. It's so good. And I love her big sister energy in that episode. It's just beautiful.
It's the best.
So the opportunity to be here with a person who is creative and brilliant and a storyteller and a host, we thought, oh my gosh, yes, when we had the opportunity to invite you in. So we're so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for being a listener. And yeah, every time someone says, I found you in the pandemic, I'm like, wow, because it's so funny looking back on that particular era of our show, because our show started in 2017 and the framing from the beginning has been about preparing the way for what we what we knew was coming, we just didn't know what shape it would take. And so it was a really
That's right.
wild time for us in 2020. For me in particular, one of the things that the season before the sibling season was the Apocalypse miniseries season, which I led, and our producer, Zach Rosen, and I started planning it together about 6 months before.
Oh, wow.
About 6 months before we started
Oh my
recording.
gosh.
We knew that we wanted that season to be focused on apocalypse preparedness and act like hard skills for what do we do. And then the pandemic hit like the month that we were starting to record. And so it was such a wild, surreal ride, just literally recording these episodes from my closet.
Wow.
While the pandemic, I live in Minneapolis, as some of our listeners might know, but it's like the pandemic hit, George Floyd is murdered 15 blocks from my home. My neighborhood is on fire, and I'm in my closet recording these conversations about survival. You know?
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes you just have to ride the portal.
That's it. I mean, and there had to be something in you that was like stirring that enlivened, right? That said, this is what you need to be doing now.
That experience absolutely helped me really learn to trust my intuition in a whole different way, because I also was like, oh, some part of me intuited that this was the time.
That's it.
And some of it down to the week, I recorded a conversation about guns and self-protection in the Black community. Ooh. And I did that interview a week before George Floyd was murdered. So it came out the day, like 3 days after his murder.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was one of those really just, it's hard to put words to what that time was, but it helped me learn to trust both my intuition and the timing of the universe. Yes. Which also helped me set on the path that I'm on now, was really saying, if I keep trusting the timing of the universe, and if I keep trusting my intuition around what I am supposed to be doing and how I'm supposed to be of use, how am I supposed to be of service right now, then I kind of will, it seems to me that I will continue to end up in exactly the right location for myself.
That feels like an encapsulation in some ways of your broader concept of fugitivity, the kind of orientation toward change and intuition that you're calling for and inviting others into.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that it's all a part of it, that it's, I know we'll probably get a little bit into the book project later in the conversation, but I'll just say that as I was writing this book on fugitivity, I believe that fugitive practice is at its heart a deep practice of self-study.
Yes.
And as I was doing the self-study and peeling back more and more layers of my own life story, I realized that I had been in some form of fugitive practice my entire life, that I had been dreaming other ways of being, even as a child, that I kind of I felt more of a sense of belonging to spaces of transition than I did to specific geographic locations that other people might recognize as home. And so I don't go for the idea that every single thing that happens to us has meaning. I think that there are plenty of things that are meaningless, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
In fact, it's great to not overinvest meaning in too much of our lives. It's good to have some things where we can just be like, I'm just going to decide that doesn't mean anything. Let it go by. But there are things that I can look back on now in my own life story and see the seed of fugitive practice.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And that's evidence. That's where I was going, which is what I heard, when you're speaking on intuition. I think one of the things that we often assume about intuition is it's your gut or it's intuition, but it's like not grounded or rooted in something else, something bigger, something otherwise. Like intuition is in and of itself a thing. And so what I also hear you saying is like, I have all this evidence, right? I have evidence in my body. I have evidence from my experiences. In fact, when I look back across my life, I've been like, it's all evidence actually, right? So this thing that, that we understand as intuition, we can trust it. It's deeply grounded, it's rooted, and the evidence is all over the place if you listen to it.
Yes. We're actually surrounded.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
So Autumn, when you were a kid, who did you want to be when you grew up?
This is a fun question to answer because it's kind of embarrassing, but I really wanted to be a model. And I have a funny memory around this, but it's so much funnier when my dad retells the story, because I was a kid who was constantly being affirmed for my looks. And racialization is hilarious. So I'm like a mixed race Black woman. I'm light skinned. I have green eyes, curly hair. So I really fit the bill for the kind of body that everyone was like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. And I really internalized that. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gorgeous. But but I'm also really smart and very, very nerdy. And so I grew up also being really affirmed for being really smart and tracked into smart people things, including geography bees. I don't know if
okay, yeah. You mean the geography?
It was called that. I remember it as the geography bee, but I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was competing in this like statewide geography competition, and there's this hilarious moment that happens where we're in the final stage of the competition. I'm hitting the buzzer every time, answering every question, like knocking these other kids out of the water. And then they pause and they go around and they ask each of the kids on the panel what they want to be when they grow up. And it's, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a judge. I want to be a doctor. And then there's me being like, I want to be a model.
Yes.
And when my dad
with a pose,
the story,
perhaps?
Right.
Yes, I was like so unself-conscious about the fact that this is what my life plan was. And my dad when he tells the story, he talks about how he was like, he had been like beaming with pride, and then he like sinks down in his chair.
I love it.
But it's in classic dad form. I knew that he also loved that I just told the truth about my ambition.
Yes.
It was like, that was my truth, I really wanted to be a model. And obviously that changed. And by high school, I think I was really clear that I was going to be a performer. So I was really tracking my own life towards becoming a professional performer, either an actor or musician. And so it's been funny because in recent years, I've been reclaiming that part of myself, stepping back into my life as an artist after taking what could be described as like a 2-decade-long detour into
yes.
or political organizing.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful that I had that experience. I feel like I, as a result, have so much more worthwhile things to say in my art.
Exactly.
I love it. Well, and you spoke it with your whole baby chest. You know what I mean? And that, as a young person, like you put it out there. I love it.
I did. I knew that I was meant to be seen, classic Sagittarius.
Love it. So you are an artist, a facilitator, a mother, a theologian, and many, 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 many more roles and ways. We love it. And we often, so many of us come up in the sense that you have to commit to work that is in one lane. You can only choose one thing, or you've got to pick one and at least stay with it for a long time. And, you're a longtime organizer, nonprofit leader, facilitator. And today it looks a little different, maybe a lot different. And you've talked about this as turning your life ship. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by turning your life ship?
Yes, I can. It's it's a really, I have found it to be a really useful metaphor for understanding what's been happening in my life and understanding my responsibility and my role in it. And I mean, it relates a lot to intuition and to, well, the thing I'm going to put a pin in because I don't want to lose sight of it is like crossing the thresholds that open to us. Okay. So I'm putting a pin in that. And if I forget to come back to it, then y'all can guide me back. But my journey back into making art, or really my journey of blossoming as an artist in a way for the first time, happened in the aftermath of a lot of trauma. I mean, and one of the things that I've been really working on and working with is the contradiction that so many of the most important transformations in our lives happen as a result of some of the worst things that happen to us. And that as humans, we are actually literally biologically designed to experience and sustain and process trauma. So I had a window of my life where I was sort of one thing after another. And I felt like I really felt like I was at war with my life. And I remember, just being in this stretch, a hard stretch of my life where I was like, why is it so hard? Is it always going to be, is this my path? Is my path that I will be in this kind of suffering for the rest of my adulthood? What happened to my joy? You know, I was such a joyful person. I mean, my family would pretty universally describe me as very free-spirited, but one of the things that was really true about my personality that anyone who knew me prior to like my late 20s would be able to attest to was that I was an extremely joyful person. But that felt like it had just been, I don't know, just like sucked into some hole inside me and was just couldn't find its way back out. And and then this really incredible thing happened, which was that music started channeling through me. And I had been a performer and an artist and had classically trained as a musician and all these things, but I had never identified, and I was a writer, but I never identified as a songwriter, and I never had any ambition to be a songwriter.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then in like 2016, 2017, I suddenly just started having these songs channel through. And it was happening so much and at such a pace and with such clarity that I knew that I had to follow it.
What were they about? What were these songs? Were there certain subjects, themes that were kind of moving through you in that?
The one of the first ones that channeled through, which ended up on one of my albums that came out, it's called Oh Earth, was a song that was literally about a heartbreak or a heartbreak or a romantic relationship loss that had not yet happened.
You were a moon in my sky, and I could not stop looking for you. You were a moon in my sky, and I could not stop looking for you. I still have all of our letters bound with red thread.
It was the song itself was intuiting a loss of a relationship that had not ended.
Wow.
You know? And so a lot of the songs are about heartbreak and loss. A lot of the songs are about freedom. It was kind of, you know, and I think anyone who's listened to my music that's been put out into the world, you can hear that the sort of a dynamic tension that I'm always kind of working with and writing with is the heartbreak, trauma, loss, and freedom, and the relationship between those things. So that started, and and then a series of weird, wonderful things happened that involved me sort of saying, I think I need to start working with this music. And then as I said yes to it, as I just turned my attention towards it and said yes to it, the relationships that I needed in order to bring it into the world came to me. So I remember I was about a year and a half, 2 years into receiving the songs. And I thought, I need someone that I trust to help me with this. I need another musician that I really trust to help me with this. I know who the person is. It's my friend Nehemiah Luckett, who I went to college with, who we collaborated a lot musically. We haven't seen each other, and at that point it had been like 15 years or something, but I was like, but I know he's the one. He's the one to help me. And I kid you not, the next day he called me out of the blue.
Wow.
And every relationship that I needed in order, the person who ultimately produced my EPs contacted me, asked to be able to produce my music when she heard that I was going to be working on music.
Asked you?
She asked me. She offered to produce for free for me. And she's like an actual rock star. You know what I mean? But she just, she was just like, I just know that I'm supposed to help you with this. And the person who made all the beats on my album also came to me and was like, I'm supposed to help you with this. Here are some of the things that I can do. You know, so it was literally, and then I would say the other critical thing that happened was that I took a sabbatical from my job.
Yeah. How long was your sabbatical?
1 year.
Oh,
yes.
A year. Yes. That's like luscious.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it was
spacious, it was all the things.
Incredible. Yes. It was incredible. And it took quite a lot of, you know, I basically had to do the equivalent of like a second full-time job in order to fund that. But it made it possible for me to fully step away from the thing that had been defining the contours of my life for, at that point, when I took my sabbatical from Aorta, I think I had been there for about 7 years. And my career was so defined by this particular way that I work with organizations and a particular thing that I can do that I'm very skilled to do. But I had reached a point where I was like, I'm skilled to do this. I'm very good at it. I don't enjoy it. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
And I knew that going into my sabbatical that I was phasing out of the part of my career where it made sense for me to be doing this kind of work. Meanwhile, I'm having this incredible experience where every time I say yes to the music says yes to me.
Yes. People are coming to you and saying, I'm supposed to be here. I'm
supposed to be a part of this. And whatever you're doing, I'm supposed to be a part of it.
Count me in. Yeah.
It's easy to miss that though, right? It's so easy to miss that because that structure that's carrying you along like a ship, like a wave, right? Like that structure is so powerful. Yes. You're attached to it. It feels natural, normal, safe, right?
Yes.
And even if you're hearing some inkling of possibility in the direction of your calling, you know, because it doesn't have that same, it doesn't have that same strength at first, at least.
Yes. And I think the other reason why we sometimes miss it, this was one of my big learnings, was we often miss the things that we're supposed to be doing because we think everything we do is supposed to be hard.
That.
And so for me, I was having this experience, and this was what happened with the music. It's also what most recently happened with my book. With writing my book, that I noticed that I mean, and it sounds trite to say it, but it's like, if it's for you, it shouldn't be a process of suffering to have it. and I was so accustomed to suffering. I was so accustomed to suffering. My all the contours and shape of my life were really, you know, I was in, you know, and inside this same window of time that I'm describing, I got divorced, which was another really important part of my freedom practice, because that was one of the root causes of my suffering, was this marriage that I was in that really was not functional, you know? And so, I mean, there were so many ways that I was turning the ship of my life. But one of the things I really clued into was this piece of, this is the threshold crossing. It's that the doors actually open. It's once you initiate and say yes to the thing that you're intended to do, the doors will
Yes.
actually open. The people will be there. The
Yes.
collaborators will
That's
show
it.
up. It's not
That's it.
actually as hard. And so now I've kind of learned to like tune into this sort of, if it feels like an uphill battle to communicate with this person, I'm
That's not for
probably
you.
not supposed to work with them.
Oh man.
Ooh.
I mean, that is so, I mean,
So yes, that
as a
yes.
concept, that is so freeing, right? It's so freeing. It gives you a direction.
Yeah.
It's clear guidance, right?
Right.
And I
That's
find the arrival to that, it takes a lot to get there, right?
Yes.
And I know that your practice is diverse and your identities are diverse. What was the turning point? What was the turning ground context? I know it's probably more than one, but could you name a time, a posture, an orientation, a move that happened that really made it for you?
Mhm.
Wow, that's such a great question. The turning point that is coming to mind right now is pretty late in the process that I just described. But it feels like maybe the right one to go to because it's the point of no return. It was the point of no return for me. And it was my last night in the studio, the first time that I went to the studio to record an album. And my producer is based in Oakland and has a studio in Oakland. And so we spent 5 days together in this basement studio space. I made sounds that I didn't know that I could make. I played instruments that I didn't think that I could play, and created what became my first EP in the span of that time. And I remember that the night that I was saying goodbye to her, and I was going to have to head to the airport to fly. I was going to have to fly to speak at a conference.
Oh, wow.
It was like one of the gigs that I had that was funding my sabbatical. And it's not that I wasn't excited to go to the conference. I was excited to go talk, and I was excited about the money. But there was there was so much clarity inside of me that the studio was where I belonged.
That's right.
I felt so free in my body. I felt like I could literally do anything with and in my body while I was in that space. And my producer looked at me and she was like, "I'm worried about you. I'm worried about how this next week is going to be a hard come down for you, girl." And I was like, "I know. I'm not supposed to leave this place."
Yeah.
You know, and I made it through. But for me, the turning point was and point of no return was experiencing that level of freedom in my body, that level of fearlessness around my own creativity.
Yeah.
That was the turning point, because, you know, and I want to be clear for listeners that I'm not saying that life shouldn't involve suffering. Suffering is the condition of our lives. Like it's one of the core conditions of our lives. And there just will be suffering. That's a part of the human experience. I think what I'm trying to point to is that in my own experience, you know, part of my work is to have the right orientation to that suffering. You know, to fortify myself so that I can be with it and navigate it and do what I need to do in order to not have it be the thing that identifies me.
That's right.
And move towards my creativity as the thing that is my actual self. Like the reason why it was a turning point is that I was like, this is me. This is me at my most me. The most me version that exists on earth is Autumn Brown in that basement, barefoot, in front of a microphone, making weird sounds and using a tambourine. You know what I mean?
You don't deserve me. You're not deserving. You don't deserve me. I don't wanna be with you no more.
Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
taking me back like almost 2 decades ago, Autumn. I went out to Kripalu in Western Mass and trained to be a yoga instructor. So I did that like before it was like everybody was a yoga
Before everyone was doing
it. Yeah, before everyone was doing it. I
Mhm.
was in my 20s.
I see you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
You're probably the
And,
only person of color there.
I was just about to say, you know it. And you know it. There was one other woman.
Okay.
There was one other person. Yeah. And it was just the two of us. And, and you brought me back to my mat and sitting on my mat and exactly what you said about suffering being part of the human condition.
Yeah.
And so much that we do that is yoga is about being with that truth
Mhm.
and also alleviating it, like moving ourselves in ways that alleviate the suffering, allow us more peace, more ease. And when it is what it is, the ability to be with it and not let it be us. So we are not suffering as you said, it's not our core identity. We can be with, we can witness, we can also alleviate, reduce, right, through our practices,
Mhm.
breath, movement, spirit. So you just brought me there, back
Yeah.
to a big, big hall within Kripalu that smelled like feet.
Oh,
but
hell
was-
yeah. You're like,
Always. I mean, mine included, but it smelled like feet. And there was a lot of good work happening in there to be in, as you were saying, like our intuition,
Mhm.
right? To for ourselves to be in the practice of learning the evidence that's already available to us, like on our mats, right? And trying to prepare to hold space, create opportunity for folks who are fellow travelers to be a bit more at ease in their bodies, in their what is.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing me there, because it's been a minute.
Time travel is an important part of the process.
Yes.
And what I'm hearing is that if I'm going to suffer, I'm going to suffer in the direction of my calling, right? And because there's different kinds of suffering. There's the suffering when your life ship is heading in the structured direction that's kind of extractive. And there's the suffering that refines you, right? The suffering that refines you, turns you into that final form, right?
Yes.
And that's the suffering that you're talking about. And I love that you called it a point of no return, and that your producer was kind of like, girl, what you going to do next week? Because that really, to me... Because really, that's why people don't turn the life ship. Because what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yes.
What are you going to do? And that really, I think, underscores the need for a fugitive practice. And I want to talk about this concept of fugitivity, what it is to you, and what it's about.
Yes. Thank you for bringing us there. What a great transition. I see
That was a good one.
y'all are really good at podcasting. I see you both with your transitions and your excellent questions. So fugitivity. Well, first I want to say, I guess I'll back up a little bit and say, what is a fugitive? So a fugitive is a person who has escaped. Is escaping persecution, is in hiding, is escaping surveillance. And there's a long, beautiful history of fugitivity in the context of the U.S. political project of people figuring out ways to either escape enslavement or escape surveillance or escape either sometimes into political exile elsewhere or into political exile even on our own soil here. And so I think it's important for me to ground that the idea of fugitivity is it has a very, very long history. There's a long lineage of people figuring out ways to be fugitive from supremacy systems in this country.
Yes.
And so and there's so many incredible Black feminists who have done so much beautiful work around fugitive practice. And so I really
shout out
to
Black
feminists.
feminists. Yes.
You know, there's lots of people who use this language, but I really orient towards the lineage of Black feminism specifically. And that's where I place my foot in the soil. And add what I can add to it. So when I've been writing about with fugitive practice, is the way that I think about it and the way that I've been talking about it is fugitivity is how we practice freedom in an unfree world. It's how we practice freedom with our own bodies, and most importantly with our spirits and our relationships, regardless of the conditions that say that we are not free. So it's in a way, it's a way of remembering that we actually are free, even if we exist inside of conditions that say that we are not. And I have found it to be a really powerful practice also of, healing from oppression, healing from oppressive systems, but also transmuting the experiences of existing inside of oppressive systems into power. Because one of the things that we kind of, I think, again, and it's, I've been learning in public how to talk about this, and I will continue learning in public how to talk about it, but I insist on my right to talk about it. That one of the things that we know about going through traumatic experiences is that it fundamentally changes and transforms us, and it gives us powers and capabilities that we would not have had otherwise.
Yep.
So for me, fugitivity is about harnessing those powers rather than saying my life is defined by the worst things that have ever happened to me, and I am these 5 oppressed identities, and it's my victimization in the world that is the way that I want to be seen and understood. I'm much more interested in being seen and understood as an incredibly powerful person who's powerful in part because of those experiences.
Yes.
You know, that or another turning point that I had related to this work was that I had this experience. I talk about this in the book. So I'm excited for readers to get to read about it. But I had this experience where I started realizing that when white women specifically were about to engage in behavior towards me that was, let's just call it a boundary violation. You can call it a microaggression or active racism or whatever, but I think of it as sort of an inappropriate merging that white women often want to do with women of color. I started to realize that I could see it happening right before it happened.
Yes.
And I honed this capacity over years. Once I realized that I had it, I started to hone my ability to tune in and to realize, oh, I can see it coming. I know when it's about to happen. But what shifted for me was that once I realized that I could see it coming, and that then I realized I'm more in control of what's about to happen than she is.
That's right.
And it flipped and reversed the entire dynamic for me, because then instead of being like, I can't believe this white woman is oppressing me, I was like, oh, you are super dissociated right now. And you don't have control over your own behavior. I will be in control of this interaction now.
Yeah.
I'm taking the reins.
Yes.
I'm in control right now.
I'm hearing like slow mo, like if there is a before after, like as you come into this, what is like coming to me, Autumn, is like slow motion, you know, when we like, you know, like a cartoon and it's like, here it comes. And you're like, I'm way prepared over here. I know power, stance, all the things. Yeah.
And what's amazing about that, I love that you tuned into the slow motion element of it, because that's also a function of how trauma works. Right? One of the things that we know from our studies of trauma and how we experience trauma and how our bodies navigate it is that time moves differently in the context of painful experiences. And so that is also something we can harness, you know, that if time is moving differently because of dissociation of bodies in the room, and I know that, then I can actually act differently and move differently with that information. And for me, it's been so empowering and so powerful. And so I don't walk around in the world. I just don't walk around in the world like afraid of how a white person is going to interact with me anymore. You know,
Mhm,
it's, and
mhm.
again, it's not
Yes.
to say that a white person couldn't ruin my day. Absolutely.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Mhm.
saying that white people don't need to be responsible for their behavior, but rather the shift for me, the shift of fugitive practice is to say, I actually have agency.
Yes.
No matter the conditions, I still have
Mhm.
agency to respond.
hmm I'm hearing fugitive practice as an orientation toward suffering and oppressive systems that emphasizes personal alchemy, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And I find that to be really empowering, as you say, because you can take that on. It could become a way to sharpen yourself, become more powerful, to gain a skill, right? That you
Mhm.
can then use to service the goals, right?
Yeah.
To service movement, to service our broader collective liberation and freedom, right? And so I'm very inspired by that. I think that's what we're doing here at Freedom Dreams and Philanthropy
Mhm.
too. We're trying
Yes.
to alchemize our experiences. I mean, we've worked in the social sector, academia, so on and so forth. We've experienced professional harm,
Oh, yes.
and personal suffering, interpersonal suffering. And now we're like, what's next? What do we do with this?
Mhm.
And we're realizing, wait, that has made us, it made us easier for us to have this kind of conversation, actually.
Yes.
So let's have the conversation
Yes.
That's right.
for other people to hear it too,
That's
right?
right.
And so I thank you for kind of bringing that forward, this kind of idea of alchemy, a different way to approach the systems that are constraining us and the feelings that they evoke out of us, right? Let's turn it into something that
Mhm.
we can use, right?
Right.
Healing and kind of that again, that refining, that sharpening. And I
Sharpening.
actually want to transition again because I know that you do Aikido, is it pronounced?
Aikido. Mm-hmm.
Aikido, and I know
Yes.
there's an element of this sharpening in
Yes.
that. And so I want to talk about maybe how that's folded into how you've approached your fugitive practice.
It's huge. I'm so glad you brought that up because as you were describing the personal alchemy, I was like, ooh, I should probably talk about blending because
Ooh.
because that is, I mean, I started training in Aikido 4 years ago. And so I'm very much still a beginner in the practice. And, you know, our orientation is that we are always students, no matter how far along in the practice you are, you're always a student. And so I want to be clear as I start to talk about this, that I'm not speaking as an expert on Aikido. I'm speaking as an enthusiastic daily practitioner of Aikido. But there is a huge, a part of, I would say one of the ways that Aikido as a martial art has really influenced my thinking around fugitivity is that Aikido is as an art form, as a martial art, we are practicing violence, but we are practicing it in a dedicated way that is focused on harmonizing with, blending with attack in order to neutralize it. And in order to do that, a huge part of the practice is conditioning ourselves to have a different response when someone attacks us. So when in a typical human body under attack is going to brace, is going to potentially tighten, constrain, or collapse entirely. And a conditioned Aikido body learns to move with fluidity in response to the attack rather than collapsing, rather than bracing, and also learns to stay in contact with the attacker as the attack happens, which is such a different way of orienting. It's such a different way of orienting.
Completely.
And it does require the conditioning. We use the metaphor because Aikido is based in sword forms. Everything that we do is really in relationship to the idea of a sword. And so we do often use the metaphor of tempering, of sharpening, of honing when we think about how are we conditioning ourselves, or what are we conditioning ourselves towards. And for me, that has meant, if I think about how to transfer that idea into the political realm, it has helped me understand that so much of our social justice movements are focused on separation and judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we can't be separate from what is happening. We just are not separate from what is happening. And it actually doesn't serve us. We have reached a point in human history where we are absolutely no longer served by the mythology of separation.
Mm-hmm.
We are better served at this time by the practice of blending. Right?
Love that.
The idea that if we feel ourselves to be under attack, that we have to find a way to maintain contact, right? We have to find a way to blend, which is not the same as like merging with. So we don't want to like become the same as our attackers.
Right. It's not an assimilation.
It's not assimilation. Right. It's about blending with and moving with the energy in service of neutralizing it, meaning making it so that does not have power over us.
Over you. Yes.
And so to me, that's where it all relates back to fugitivity is how do I relate to someone having terrible oppressive ideas without thinking that has anything to do with me?
That's right.
Yeah. And without needing to control the person.
Or their ideas or their thoughts. You know, what can I do to continue to maintain sovereignty over myself?
Yes.
So that my life is not a series of reactions to people who believe things that I don't believe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's brilliant. Brilliant and has to be lived, has to be embodied.
And
there's no shortcut. There is no shortcut.
One of the core arguments that I make in the book is that, you know, not everyone is going to go out and become a martial artist. I'm not arguing that everyone needs to go become a martial artist, but I do believe that we are at a point in time where we all need to be in some kind of disciplined practice that is embodied.
Yes.
Because it's the presence of it's the co-presence of the embodiment and the disciplined commitment to it that is actually sharpens the body to be able to respond differently. So my ability to respond differently to white women, for instance, and that's just one example, but my ability to respond differently has everything to do with my conditioning. Yeah. It's not like I just woke up one day and decided.
That's right.
You know,
it's not that your politics have changed.
And if it were up to my brain, I wouldn't be able to do it.
That's right.
Right? It's about conditioning is not something that happens exclusively in the mind. It's something that has to happen throughout the whole soma.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is totally after our own heart here at Freedom Dreams and Philanthropy. You know, we're really trying to get the sector to orient toward new ways of being, doing, and thinking. And we know that there's so many entrenched and material reasons for being how things are. But we're saying to folks, you can take a future-oriented approach to practice, right? And it's not easy, you know, to convince them always, right? But pathways are opening up as you noted, and so we can identify with that over there. And the conditioning is key, right? One of the ways that we have been, you know, promoting or trying to invite people into a new way is to say, hey, let's embrace again some of this ancestral knowledge. Let's embrace Black feminist theory. Let's embrace all of that knowing about how to get unstuck. Yeah. We already have some of that. Let's start conditioning ourselves. Let's start educating ourselves. Let's embrace a new, orient ourselves around a new theory of action, right? And really get into a new praxis. And so it really is encapsulating a lot, and we can really identify.
Oh, amazing.
So Autumn, this is your first time on Becoming the Vision, but I want you to come back. So I'm already like, wait, how are we at time?
I know.
We need more time. And just want to say thank you. This is so awesome.
Oh, thank you. This has been such an enlivening conversation for me. I'm so grateful to be here with the both of you, and it's great to be asked such juicy questions.
Thank you for the material, really.
Yes, exactly. And we can't wait to read your book when it comes out. Like, that is going to be excellent.
And we should say the title of it too, right?
The title of the book is Temper, A Fugitive Guide to Freedom. And should be out next fall. So I will definitely let you both know when it comes out. And
Beautiful.
Thank you for giving me space to talk about my passion project.
I wish we had a chance to ask her what her predictions were for 2026 and what her advice was for philanthropy and our effort to turn our ship as a sector. But
Yes.
I think she offered so many notes that we can take forward. This idea of a fugitive practice, this getting to this point of no return, not knowing where you're going, but letting yourself be refined by the journey, getting those skills along the way, and kind of trusting for the conditions, the people, the events to align themselves. I mean, it's scary. It's so scary. But it's certainly empowering to think that there is an alternative to just being carried along by the wave of systems,
That's right. And being able to be with them and not lose our power, right? As they're coming to us and being able to see it, feel it, sense it coming, and because of all of the embodied practice, and then make choices. So Autumn didn't use the word choices as much, but I heard a lot of the agency that we talk about in this work is in the choice, like the choice around what we give our attention to, the choice we make, and when we speak up or when we let that one pass. Maybe that's not today, Satan, that's not the one.
To learn more about the work we do, how to get involved and get free, go to freedomdreamsphilanthropy.org.